Speaking of things not working, thankfully some of these are kind of short, but I'd mentioned that BRIDGE sends out weekly newsletters now. So BRIDGE now gives me direct information on what is going on in the diversity, equity, and inclusion world. So thank you, BRIDGE. You're being helpful for something. So these are articles from BRIDGE's newsletter directly. So these are things that BRIDGE is promoting and sending out to people that subscribe to them. This is the Wall Street Journal. Marketers are still juggling ESG and scrutiny. Some brands are trying to stay under the radar, while others are finding new ways to talk about their social purpose, executives say at the CMO Network Summit. Marketers are attempting to sidestep political brawls over concepts like brand purpose, ESG, and diversity by softening language and avoiding related messages. But they aren't giving up on such efforts. Wow, it's almost like I said, all of these DEI employees being fired, all of the just words being changed. It's not dying, it's not going anywhere, and the people that tell you that want you to rest on your laurels and give up. Do not believe their lies. Companies sort of want to stay under that radar screen to some degree, but they also want to build the business. Daryl Brewster, CEO of Chief Executives for Corporate Purpose, a business council, said at the Wall Street Journal's CMO Network Summit on Tuesday. This requires them to find new ways to communicate goals on matters like sustainability, both externally and internally, he said. What a scary thing, dude. Chief Executive for Corporate Purpose, a business council. Corporate purpose, man, that is, Yeah, the Coco.io is my text notification on my phone. It's not dying, it's just going into hiding. They are burrowing like the roaches they are. ESG efforts, which focus on environmental, social, and corporate governance initiatives, have become common among companies. But businesses associations with social causes have also come in for scrutiny, with some investors criticizing Unilever's plan to give each of its products a purpose, for example, and a boycott targeting Bud Light's partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Unilever is also part of BRIDGE. They are one of the BRIDGE partners who has, I can't remember if it's their CMO or somebody else, but they have a bigwig on the board at BRIDGE. And also, I don't know how many people here watch The Quartering. He got a Dylan Mulvaney action figure, and it was hilarious. Have I seen the video of CD Projekt openly groveling before ESG agenda? I have not, but that's disgusting. If you can't find common ground, can you find a higher ground that people can work with? What are those purple words that are out there? Brewster said, citing clean air as an example of words that bring people together. What the fuck? Pet food company Freshpet avoids using ESG or purpose altogether, for example, and steers clear of issues it can't influence directly, said Scott Morris, co-founder and president. Morris said he puts the phrase, nourish pets, people, and planet on an office wall to summarize the company's primary work serving pet owners and its carbon reduction efforts. But how will carbon reduction efforts help us sell more pet food? Companies are also confronting heightened pressure regarding marketing to the LGBTQ community. They're not pulling back, but they don't want to be in the limelight. And who can blame you? Said Sarah Kate Ellis, CEO of LGBTQ advocacy group GLAAD. And if you guys will remember, I don't know if it's in this browser window or not, but we talked about GLAAD being funded by Gilead Sciences, and how GLAAD was also starting to work with BRIDGE and Cheryl Dyja directly. We are the carbon they want to reduce, true and real. Our new concern involves outsiders writing shareholder letters advising companies to not support LGBTQ groups, Ellis said. GLAAD is working with companies on how to respond to such letters. I would honestly be impressed if they had any response to them. I would just assume that these people would ignore it. It all comes back to BRIDGE. BRIDGE is overarching, and that makes it scary. But we can win. We can win, chat. CMO staying power. Marketers at the summit also discussed outlasting the notoriously short average tenure of CMOs, rising to CEO roles, and joining boards. A long run as a CMO depends in part on a good start, said Linda Boff, CMO of General Electric. Boff said she spent nearly her first 6 months in the role visiting marketing leaders of the company's various business units. All we did was listen. Marketers should build relationships not only with other executives, Boff said, but with their company's board of directors as well. That helps prevent CMOs from coming off in board meetings like just that person with a sandwich board that says marketing, she said. This was also something that Cheryl Dijja said herself in that interview that hopefully everyone here has seen. If you haven't, I have a tweet with it. The YouTube channel is still up. But Cheryl Dijja says that the marketing team needs to work with other people in the company because DEI will be a tenant that is everyone's
Sally,
responsibility.
Your boyfriend lets you have 2 comms?
Shovel Runner, thank you for the subby. Thank you for the subby, bubby. She said that the marketing people need to work with everyone else because it's going to be everyone's job in the company to be pushing DEI, but the marketers are going to be the ones who are transforming it for consumer opinion. Becoming a board member partly requires visibility with people you don't know, said Susan Somerville Johnson, former CMO of Prudential Financial, and a member of the board for National Vision and previously Constellation Brands. You don't find the board, she said, the board finds you. Marketers on a board don't get to manage the company, but they do have a lot of influence. Your job is to support management, not to run the company, said Lynn Bigar, senior advisor at Boston Consulting Group and former CMO at Visa, and a board member at Anheuser-Busch InBev during the Bud Light boycott. Marketers can help companies navigate the politicized environment by challenging themselves to broaden their frames of reference, said Jonathan Mindenhall, CMO at Rocket Companies. Successful executives, either in the C-suite or on the board, are the ones that have the broadest perspective right now. Like that? Why is it always a woman trying to destroy society? Because it's not the woman who's actually in charge of destroying society. She's just the figurehead to point to notice what's happening. Because since women are typically more agreeable, it's a bit harder to fight against a woman doing something wrong on a large scale like this. Unfortunately. You know what? Let's compromise and let Big D have it for one day. What the hell? What the hell? Like all the indoctrination books for kids. Now say figurehead last name. No, thank you. Hello, Darelight. I love telling your sour cream sipping stories. Moving right along to another article. Also by the Wall Street Journal, diversity goals are disappearing from companies' annual reports. Dozens of firms change what and how they report diversity initiatives, deleting the word diverse or cutting whole sections. Once again, DEI is going nowhere, ESG is going nowhere. They are just trying to obfuscate it so you stop paying attention. Spending $1.2 billion with diverse businesses, doubling Black and Latino leadership, increasing recruitment from historically Black colleges and universities. Those diversity goals were highlighted in companies' annual reports in 2022. A year later, those references were gone. Dozens of companies altered descriptions of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in their annual reports to investors as DEI programs come under legal and political threat. The changes highlight the balancing act companies face as they navigate pressure from both critics and advocates of diversity efforts. And all I have to question here is, if your reports are not only coming under political quote-unquote threat, but under legal quote-unquote threat, they're still continuing to do them. This is not about the money. It is about the ideology they are trying to push. They are trying to terraform culture and foregoing short-term profit for it. In general, companies say they aren't cutting back on their programs or longer-term goals. Of course they're not. Anyone who believed that is an idiot. Anyone who's telling you that is a liar. Lawyers and other experts say the disclosure changes...
Sorry to hear about your pussy.
...reflect uncertainty about the legal parameters of diversity programs along with wariness of political backlash following the Supreme Court's 2023 decision overturning affirmative action in college admissions. These are just minor speed bumps to our ideological subversion. Don't worry about the legal ramifications. Abdullah, thank you for the 2. Could we see this Bridge newsletter as a call of retreat? Doesn't mean to stop fighting, but to keep pushing. We've got them on the run. We definitely do. The more noticing that happens, the more wary they get, the more they try to obscure what they're doing. This is... Voting with your wallet is important, but rallying people to try and get positions in these companies as well is also important. Cyber Kirsche. Your DEI drivers are outdated. True. Tix, thank you for the member. Thank you. The nature and degree of the changes vary according to a Wall Street Journal analysis of 10K filings to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Some companies shortened descriptions or removed entire sections, while others changed a few words or phrases to cut mentions of race or specific hiring or other targets. Kohl's no longer says it's cultivating diverse leaders for advancement, as it had for the past 3 years. The retailer's last annual report says its priority is to develop quote-unquote leaders. GameStop cut mention of diversity and inclusion from a list of philosophy tenets for its human resources department. Software company UiPath used to define DEI measures as a business priority and a moral imperative, which is exactly what Bridge calls it. Now they are key to creating an environment where our people feel safe to be themselves, are empowered to grow their careers, are rewarded competitively, and are challenged to do their best work while embracing the power of automation. And this kind of change in language is enough to fool the average person. They're going to just see, oh, they removed all of this disgusting DEI language, therefore I should be okay spending money with them again. And that's not the case. They are trying to trick you, the consumer, into thinking that your voice has been heard and that they have removed these things when they have not. They have not removed them. It's not going away. It's not dead. Do not believe the Beanie Man. People and interest groups along the political spectrum are watching the company's words and actions. Shortly after the affirmative action decision, a group of Republican attorneys, or attorney generals, wrote a letter to Fortune 100 companies warning them against race-based preferences in hiring and promotion. Soon after, Democratic Attorney General wrote to the same companies, noting that corporate diversity programs are essential to combating discrimination and encouraging firms to double down on their efforts. And it's funny that they say, our discrimination practices are necessary for combating discrimination. My brain, it hit a bus. There's been a re-evaluation of the level of political risk these companies are willing to take on, said Lindsay Stewart, an analyst at Morningstar who studies corporate reporting. The affirmative action ruling, which struck down the consideration of race in college and university admissions, doesn't directly affect companies, but the ruling raised the specter of more legal challenges by people and groups who see race or gender-based goals as discriminatory. And if you work at a company that employs these tactics, and you have the means to do so, file a lawsuit. We've read multiple articles on stream already on how white people have won lawsuits and won monetary compensation from these companies that are employing these discriminatory DEI practices. So if you have the means, try to do something like that. Mask on in current days shows exactly how brainwashed they are, right? Right, dude? Literally illegal. Literally illegal. Survey data suggests most companies aren't making substantive changes to their diversity efforts. Around 93% of employers said their DEI commitments and activity increased or stayed the same between 2022 and 2023, according to a report published in January by employment law firm Littler Mendelson. Littler, eh? Was trying to tell us something, Mr. Guy? What's your mustache look like? What's your grooming regimen going on over there? UiPath, for example, says its commitment has deepened in the past year, and that it has strengthened our operating procedures and talent acquisition toward higher goals for a more diverse workforce. A Kohl's spokeswoman said the company's strategy and beliefs around DEI are still in place, and it routinely makes revisions to that section of its annual report. She said additional information about DEI at Kohl's is on the company's website and in its annual ESG report. Still, some companies are saying less. Forget about any ideological agenda. You're just trying to figure out, how do I follow the law? You don't want to overcommit or undercommit or misdescribe where you'll eventually land, said Jason Schwartz, a partner with Gibson Dunn and a leader of the law firm's DEI task force. Schwartz currently represents the Fearless Fund, a venture firm whose grants to black female entrepreneurs have been challenged in court. And I like exactly how mask off they were in this article, where they're just like, forget about the ideological agenda for right now. We gotta figure out how to not get sued while pushing our ideological agenda. These names, bro, don't notice. The legal landscape shifted again last week when the Supreme Court opened the door to discrimination claims related to a broader range of workplace actions. Conservative legal activists have taken aim at some hiring programs and other initiatives by companies, saying that they're discriminatory. There's a pullback from any explicit mention of race, said Dan Lennington, deputy counsel for Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, a legal group that has sued multiple companies over their diversity initiatives. He said companies recognize they face tremendous liability for any program involving race in any way, a concern that extends far less to programs based on gender. Pay attention to the names of the organizations. You love mocking you in plain sight. Morningstar's a nod to Lucifer. You know where that goes. True. True and real. It's just like, maybe this is why they always say that everything is a far-right dog whistle. You know, Pepe the Frog, that's a far-right dog whistle, man. It's because they subvert language so often that they keep looking for things that aren't there in other people's speech. When you get to this point of hiding and subversion, I only can imagine the level of paranoia you also feel about what your perceived enemies might be doing behind your back. And so you call everything out as being a Nazi, because even if you make 10 mistakes, you're probably going to nail one eventually. The lady doth protest too much. True. Ryan, thank you for the 5. My employers are pretty good. They like me because I'm not retardant or a felon. Well, I hope you become retardant because I don't want you to catch on fire. They then live their lives with cognitive dissonance. True. Stalin was famous for his paranoia. Kavifi! They do the same thing with anime, trying to find some social or political message in literally every anime. Yeah, right? Yeah, right? New conspiracy schizo nuts. Some companies are signaling their attention to compliance. Software company EverCommerce in 2023 added several sentences to its annual report saying it would pursue only DEI efforts that were legally compliant. EverCommerce didn't respond to requests for comment. That doesn't surprise me. Fear of legal repercussions is a major consideration, experts say. Certain programs or commitments might be seen as more likely to draw scrutiny, such as putting numerical targets on racial or gender representation or maintaining mentorship programs for underrepresented groups. In its 2023 report, Nordstrom removed specific goals around diversity that had been in filings with the SEC since 2020. That included the goals of delivering $500 million in retail sales from brands owned, operated, or designed by Black and Latino people, and increasing Black and Latino representation in manager roles by 50%. You know, that makes me curious, because I remember bringing up on stream before that, like, Macy's had started adding a little flair to the items on their websites, letting you know if they were like a Black-owned or a woman-owned business. I wonder if that's like a similar thing that Macy's is doing to Nordstrom. Hey, pretty fox lady, you should drink your protein soon, TM. Mercenary, thank you for the $2. This all leads back to the Khazarian Mafia. What? Macy's is still around. Yeah, it is. Salesforce, in its 2022 report, said it targets 50% of its workforce from being underrepresented groups and 40% of employees being women or non-binary. The numbers are gone from the latest report, in which the company says it looks to advance representation and design systems with a focus on equality. A spokesperson for Salesforce said its commitment to equality is unwavering. Workday in 2020 declared its commitments to increasing overall representation of Black and Latino employees in the U.S. by 30%, and doubling the number of Black and Latino leaders by the end of last year. Those targets added into the 2022 form were missing from the 2023 version. Electronics seller Best Buy stopped listing its commitments to spend at least $1.2 billion with diverse businesses by 2025, as well as its progress on hiring goals such as filling 1 in 3 salaried corporate positions with employees who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, and filling 1 in 3 positions with women. The company instead said it focused on employee engagement, retention, representation, and creating a culture of belonging. And again, since these articles are coming from a BRIDGE newsletter, this isn't for our sake to notice what they're doing. This is to inform other companies how they can better lie to get away with continuing these initiatives, because you have to be dedicated to the cause. You have to be doing the work. All 4 companies provide more details about their diversity goals and actions in separate reports. Those documents, sometimes labeled impact reports or ESG reports, tend to be published on different timelines than annual reports. Many other companies have kept their language on DEI initiatives unchanged in annual reports. Companies weigh the pros and cons of disclosure with the knowledge that financial filings are a forum to communicate not only with investors and regulators, but also with competitors, suppliers, employees, and other stakeholders, said Ivy Feng, an accounting professor at the University of Wisconsin who has studied diversity disclosures. What gets disclosed gets managed, so if they don't say anything, it's more difficult for outsiders to find out what's really going on, she said. When they say something, then it's public. And when it's public, they can potentially be scrutinized by outsiders. Has the mask fully fallen yet? Because this is kind of crazy to actually... Like, we knew that this is what they were doing, but it's crazy to actually hear them just say it. Why are these companies even making these reports? Originally, BRIDGE was set up to monitor these companies and how well that they were doing. So BRIDGE would look at all of these reports from these companies and see how well that their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are doing. But since BRIDGE has now made IMAX, and now that they have to go undercover with their language, it's going to be easier for them to judge their metrics by knowing exactly which words that they're using and how they speak to each other. But it's going to be harder for the average person to understand what's going on because all of it is obfuscated, and on the surface, it looks like they have dropped these initiatives. What a very odd thing to say. You mean a front? Let's see what these comments say. Great to see the continuing cancellation of bogus DEI movement by companies who have finally got the message that DEI didn't work. Hire the best person for the job. Is this person fucking retarded? Did he read the same article I just read? Holy fuck! I hate room temp IQ people. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't even want to read the rest of these, dude. Stop hiring from Ivy. Golly, maybe the tsunami of discrimination lawsuits is having some impact. DEI equals dead and earn it. Thank you, Gary. You smell wonderful. How can I be so bubbly living in Boston? You had to go take someone to mass eye and ear. The city made you want to die. I'm even more bubbly when I'm back home, but unfortunately right now I'm in Georgia instead of Boston. I'll go home soon when I can afford it, but goddamn, it's expensive to live there, man. Thankfully, evil wants to be known. Evil has one hell of an ego, so whether they realize it or not, they'll always eventually out themselves. True. True and real. I think he read the wrong post. True. The return to white supremacy, business as usual. All Confederates will rejoice. What? What? The majority of Americans who fought in World Wars I and II were white. I wonder how many black and people of color will volunteer for the next war, or will it be business as usual, as you purport? Look, man. I have my opinions on the draft in a small, high-trust working society. But in current society, who the fuck would want to fight for this country? Joining the military is no longer fighting for America and American ideals. Joining the military is to sign your life away fighting foreign wars that we have no business being in. Literally no reason to do so. Excellent take. People get angry because I say in like a small high trust working society, a draft would be something that works because you have men who want to stand up for the country and would be willing to do so. We don't have that anymore. People would fight in the war, but against America, probably. You're a vet, and I'm correct. Thank you, Lars. A lot of people get really angry at my take on that. Lock me up for treason if you have to, exactly. Powerful truth? I don't even have that. I can't even trigger the powerful truth on my own chat. I missed the powerful truth alert. Brian, thank you for the member. Vote me for president. I'm a free helicopter rides. All fit Americans will be given a hunk tax write-off, and I'm not afraid of the ABCs. Oh my god. That guy's looking nice. You should run for a state position first, dude. Get a foot in the door. Super reasonable take. How dare I? You're not allowed to be reasonable in current year. Maybe we can get back to colorblind ability. Imagine. Oh man, very positive news. I hope the trend to destroy these negative and diverse policies continues to grow. How do these people have this take when they literally read an article that says outright, states in their face, yeah, we're gonna keep doing this. We're just gonna lie about it. I don't understand, man. Kirsche for president. They didn't read the article. And they probably just read the title and they were like, God, it's disappearing. What do I have next up on here? As DEI gets more divisive, companies are ditching their teams. Zoom and Snap are among companies that have cut roles in recent weeks. After George Floyd's murder in 2020, there are so many articles about DEI that start off talking like this, and it is really weird to me. Companies made big pledges about racial equity, hiring teams dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now corporate America is pulling back, cutting DEI jobs and outsourcing the work to consultants. You see? They're cutting the DEI jobs and they're outsourcing the work to consultants. Almost like what I've been saying BRIDGE is doing since January. DEI jobs peaked in early 2023 before falling 5% that year and shrinking by 8% so far in 2024, according to Revelio Labs data shared with the Washington Post. The attrition rate for DEI roles has been about double that of non-DEI jobs, says Revelio, which tracks workforce dynamics. In recent weeks, Zoom axed its internal DEI team amid broader layoffs, and Snap cut workers who worked on retention and engagement efforts for employees from underrepresented groups. Meta, Tesla, DoorDash, Lyft, Home Depot, Wayfair, and X were among major corporations making steep cuts in 2023, slashing the size of their DEI teams by 50% or more, Revelio's data shows. When you read stuff like this, I hope they go into it in the article, because again, they said that they were replacing it with consulting firms, but the BRIDGE initiative, they are supposed to remove DEI employees. Part of the BRIDGE initiative is to no longer have diversity, equity, and inclusion departments. They want it to be the job of everyone at the company. So these companies removing their DEI teams is part of the plan. Pen the Mighty, thank you for the 10. Is there any chance for a return to sanity? The shit has you black-pilled as fuck! The world you were educated for no longer exists, and there's nothing to fight for, nay, exist for. You fight for the future. You fight to plant the trees of which the shade you may never sit in. You want a better future for the children you will bring into this world. You want them to not live through the same shit that you had to. Our parents didn't care enough and we have to live in it. Their parents didn't care enough and we have to live in it. Don't perpetuate a cycle of black pills and despair. Be part of the change that you want to see. And I'm just some brain damaged fox woman on the internet who looked up some shit about soup. And I'm the #1 investigator on all of this BRIDGE nonsense. So if I can get larger people, smarter people talking about this, you can make a difference too. The overall number of DEI officers has decreased, said Lisa Simon, Revelio senior economist. But it's not enough to destroy all the strides that happened after 2020. At Zoom, Chief Operating Officer Aparna Bawa told employees that the company would replace its internal DEI team with DEI consultants who would champion inclusion by embedding our values directly into our people programs rather than as a separate initiative. And this is what's been happening in gaming as well. Game development companies, instead of having a DEI team that they need to cull, have just been using consultants like Sweet Baby. Which is why when the Sweet Baby stuff came out last year in like October or so, I was like, anyone telling you that this is not a problem is a problem. Sweet Baby is not a final boss, but it is part of the issue. It is a tentacle on the Hydra. Don't make us summon the Archmagos to make you eat. Don't worry, I'll eat brisket after stream. Colleen Rodriguez, the company's head of global corporate communications, said Zoom remains committed to DEI work. Snap made a similar decision in February, according to reporting from Business Insider. Snap did not make a request for comment. Corporate America's retreat from DEI has coincided with increased legal risk and political animosity towards systemic efforts to boost racial equity. State legislators have introduced at least 65 anti-DEI bills since 2023, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education. The resignation of Claudine Gay, Harvard University's first black president, amid plagiarism allegations in January, was billed as the beginning of the end for DEI in America's institutions. Who billed it that way? Who is that fucking dumb? By the conservative activists who led the campaign to oust her. I don't even know who that is. Mentions of DEI on corporate earnings calls have plunged in the past year, according to the Wall Street Journal. For companies that were never really committed, this is the perfect air cover for backing off diversity, said Joelle Emerson, CEO of DEI consultancy Paradigm. Not all companies downsizing teams are giving up on the work, Emerson said. The work? Noting that some employees overhired when they established their DEI teams. I don't know that it ever made sense to have a 25-person diversity team sitting to the side of a core business function, Emerson said. Companies should be able to say, we've tried this, it didn't have an impact, we're going to try something different. The recalibration is happening under serious legal pressure. The recalibration, eh? The recalibration, the normalization is in action. Last year, when the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in college admissions, the decision didn't apply directly to employers, but the ruling kicked off an effort, driven largely by conservative activists, to dismantle race-conscious policies in other domains of American life. I would like to believe this, right? Because, like, conservatives are typically spineless do-nothings. But, like, if there are actually people out there trying to dismantle the race-conscious policies, fucking good on them. I want to learn more about that. Saccharin, thank you for the $4.99. Just try to get me to push DEI crap. I'll sue the shit out of them. Luckily, you work for a non-woke company. Hell yeah. That's where it's at, dude. That's where it's at. In July, 13 Republican attorneys general sent a letter urging Microsoft and other Fortune 100 companies to re-examine their DEI policies in response to the ruling. America First Legal, a group backed by former Trump advisor Stephen Miller, has filed legal complaints over diversity practices at scores of companies, including United Airlines, Kellogg's, Nike, and organizations such as the FBI, National Football League, and Major League Baseball. And if the FBI being named in here surprises anyone, just remember that the CIA declassified their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and I read their initiative on stream a few weeks ago. Race conscious, my god, these guys keep trying to rebrand their racism. True and real. Edward Blum, the conservative activist behind the lawsuits that toppled affirmative action in college admissions, is suing venture capital firm Fearless Fund over its grant program for early-stage businesses owned by black women. Blum's group has also found success targeting major law firms over their diversity fellowships. 3 big law firms, Perkins Coie, Morrison Forrester, and Winston & Strawn, opened their fellowships for students of color to applicants of all races and backgrounds after being sued. Good on him. I'm glad he's fucking making huge waves here. I don't know how he can afford all of these lawsuits, but holy crap, what a guy. I hope he continues to make strides so we can actually make big W's, dude. Wait until Kirsche learns about the Red Hat and IBM lawsuits. Hey, there's an IBM thing in my tabs here. Master Go, thank you for the 5. Joining our military is fighting to spread agenda by fighting against countries not into it.
Sally,
not defeating them.
Have 2 comms?
2 comes. This Rand guy, thank you for the 11-month resub. Thank you. Emperor Creatine, thank you for the 5. These people have decided to do the one thing that Americans despise more than paying taxes, being told what to do. It was only a matter of time. True and real. True and real. Keep on fighting, Chad. It's not hopeless. Where did I leave off? A fourth law firm, Adams and Reese, ended its diversity fellowship after receiving an October 9th letter threatening litigation. Even before the tide turned last summer, DEI work was an uphill battle. As companies' commitments have wavered, DEI professionals have had their work challenged. Anytime I'd raise something with the word equity, I was told it scares people away, said a former head of DEI for a gaming startup who was laid off in January. First of all, scary that it was for a gaming startup. Second of all, thank fuck he was laid off. He spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid violating his separation agreement. After stepping into the role in 2020... Baitos Breezy and you did the Linkin Park parody? Hell yeah. After stepping into the role in 2020, he said he was disheartened by resistance from executives to pay transparency policies and employee resource groups. The DEI budget kept facing cuts, he said, and he was constantly under pressure to show a return on investment. When it comes to DEI, businesses are interested until they're not. He said these positions are going away every day. And this is the issue, because these companies know it's not making them money, but the ideologues keep needing to push the companies to do it anyway, because again, it's not about profit, it's about ideology right now. Some groups have been imploring companies to maintain their DEI focus. On Monday, the executive board of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus sent a letter to CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, inquiring about efforts to improve Asian American diversity and encouraging them to stay the course amid growing attacks on DEI. The group noted that Asian Americans remain severely underrepresented at the senior-most levels of the largest U.S. corporations. Without executive leadership representation at Fortune 100 companies, AANHPI employees have fewer role models and fewer internal champions to guide and mentor them. The letter reads, corporate leaders also have fewer internal resources to guide them in fully understanding the needs and aspirations of AANHPI consumers. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus sent a similar letter in December to Acting Labor Security Julie Su, inquiring about tech layoffs that were disproportionately affecting black workers. Tech companies who previously agreed to address bias and discrimination and create greater opportunities in the workforce are now quietly defunding their diversity pledges. The letter reads, according to The Griot. What is it that Kim Belair said? You gotta strike fear into these companies. You gotta make them worry. You gotta make them think that they need you and they need to keep doing this. Some companies are bucking the trend. JM Smucker, Victoria's Secret, Michaels, Moderna, Prudential, and ConocoPhillips were among big corporations that expanded their DEI teams by 50% or more in 2023.
Yeah, big guy.
Num 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 num. Where did I leave off? According to Revelio's data, packaged food giant Conagra Brands and NASA both doubled the size of their DEI teams. With 30 years experience in diversity work, Cristina Jimenez, head of DEI at RHR International, if this doesn't tell you how long this shit has just been embedded in what's going on in corporate culture, I don't even know what to say. How the fuck
butt time?
do you work 30 years in diversity work? What the hell? How are you making money off of this? A leadership consulting firm said she had watched the pendulum swing back and forth between support and resistance. But this moment seems particularly fraught, she said. Her clients feel like they're in a battle zone at all the time. They're not sure what to do next, Jimenez said, but they understand if they don't do something. Their talent strategies, their culture,
give me butt scratches like I'm a real pet,
and their ability to succeed is all at risk.
You're recommended as a category on Twitch's main page these days.
Huh? That's weird. Thank you, Flaming TP, for the 5. I didn't know that that was a recommended category on Twitch. What the hell? 30 years and hasn't achieved anything? Imagine living that much of a failure of a life. True and real. True and real. And I have... Here's one of the letters that was sent to the Fortune 500 CEOs. February 7th, 2024. Dear Fortune 500 CEO, as the leader of a Fortune 500 company in the United States, you know that investments in diversity initiatives, including supplier diversity programs, contribute to the performance and growth of companies, advance economic growth, and improve productivity. Unfortunately, business decisions intended to capture the value from diversity initiatives have been politicized by a vocal minority of ideologically motivated voices who ignore both facts and the law. Opponents are relying on litigation to advance an unpopular anti-growth and anti-competitive agenda to undermine your leadership, the will of the vast majority of the population, and the growth of the competitiveness of the U.S. economy. We believe it is imperative that CEOs and other company leaders are able to make strategic decisions for their companies without threats of frivolous lawsuits and political pressure, and we will be here with support every step of the way. Our organizations are committed to standing with you as you continue this critical work. The amount of projection is suffocating. Oh man, dude. Letter not directed directly to me by name, straight into the trash it goes. We believe it is imperative that CEOs and other company leaders... I already read that paragraph, I'm sorry. We know continued investments in diversity initiatives are essential to the success of your business and our country's economy. We also understand that companies are recalculating their risk tolerance in light of these unprecedented challenges that seek to dismantle your programs. We remain steadfast in our efforts to advance economic growth, free market competition, and opportunities for individuals, including diverse entrepreneurs, to pursue the American dream. This opposition is out of step with most business leaders, most customers, and the public at large, who are overwhelmingly in favor of these efforts. In addition, empirical analysis reveal how companies that champion diversity and inclusion outperform their peers who do not.
The will of the majority is so important that they make damn sure there's never a vote on it.
True and real. Orismador, thank you for the $7 doodles. I like how they throw the American dream thing in here, because it reminds me of those people that will like target Christians based on their beliefs, but they're like, oh no, your belief system doesn't matter to me and I don't care about it, but I know that I can get you to do what I want by appealing to your belief system. These people don't believe in the American dream. They don't believe in American ideals. They do not have American ideology. They are seeking to use subversive language to coerce people into thinking that they're on the right side, the American ideal side, so that they are capitulated to. Not a single one of them have proven their theoretical practices to increase base earning like fucking communists. It is. These are Marxists. These are the insidious liars and not the indoctrinated true believers. DEI ESG is strong because they're powered by the end of two political parties. The rich woke college zoomer who cries when they don't get their way, and the 100-year-old parent who's in Congress and disconnected from reality. Help.
Hey.
A national survey conducted in December 2023 by Morning Consult for the Public-Private Strategies Institute found that the majority of senior executives across political affiliations said diversity initiatives play a critical role in the success of their companies, with 75% of self-described conservative executives, 77% of moderates, and 89% of liberals, all recognizing the positive contributions of diversity initiatives to their business performance. Moreover, 63% of senior executives reported that their commitment to diversity as a corporate objective has increased in the wake of the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action in higher education and an open letter from Republican attorney generals threatening litigation. This is just, like, it's so pathetic. I want to laugh, but I know I can't laugh because these are the people actually doing damage to our everyday lives. Are there regular Twitch streams each week? Yes, I stream every Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. consumers who perceive a brand as committed to diversity are 3.5 times more likely to purchase the brand's products or services compared to those who do not, according to the Corporate Diversity Index. Yeah, I bet there's no bias there at all, you know? Also, one of the BRIDGE initiatives is to change consumer opinion. And once again, even if you say they will never change my mind, I will not believe in DEI, I think it's all bullshit, they don't care if you don't truly believe it. If it is inescapable, if everywhere that you can give your money to promotes this and believes in this, you by default will be believing in it financially. It will be suffocating for you in everyday life. You will not be able to escape it, which is why it is very important to get this information out there and have more people talking about it. That's why I was really excited when James Lindsay started tweeting out stuff about BRIDGE, because he's someone actually in the political arena who can make a difference. He's someone probably more intelligent than I am, if I had to wager. Moving to a cabin in the mountains. Yeah, like VTubers and the YouTube recommendations. A national survey conducted by the Harris Poll for the Black Economic Alliance Foundation in August 2023 found that 81% of American adults agree that corporate America should reflect the diversity of the American population, and 78% of Americans support businesses taking active steps to make sure that companies reflect the diversity of the U.S. population. Global consulting firm McKinsey & Company found that the companies that are ethically and culturally diverse outperform their competitors by 36% in terms of profitability. And a Gallup study shows that diverse and inclusive teams have a 22% lower turnover rate. Diverse suppliers create value for corporations, according to an analysis by McKinsey & Company. Diverse suppliers
your pussy.
offer their corporate partners year-over-year cost savings of 8.5%, considerably more than the 3 to 7% annual procurement savings that most organizations realize. According to an analysis, diverse suppliers offer corporate partners year-over-year cost savings. Are they... Chat, am I brain damaged? Are they saying, yeah, if you work with a minority supplier, you can just pay them less money? Is that literally what they're saying? Hold on. They're bragging that they underpay the minorities. What the fuck is happening? Not a very honest analysis. Oh, I feel like that's pretty honest. That sounds super fucking racist. Once you realize that all of these diversity, equity, and inclusion goals are by nature racist, you can understand how these people think quite a lot more. Mask came right off. I've just been reading mask off after mask off article, man. Today has been nuts. As leaders of businesses or business advocacy organizations that represent a broad spectrum of viewpoints and communities, we acknowledge the commitments and leadership that you and your peers have shown in these efforts. And you can attest to the benefits that have resulted in your respective companies. It is vital that we do not allow the voices of an extreme few to outweigh the voices of the many. We cannot and will not sit idly by and allow that to happen. To do so would have dire consequences for not only your business and those you serve, but the entire US and global economies. Our request is that you act on the overwhelming evidence and positive outcomes by expanding your company's commitments to and investments in diversity initiatives, including supplier diversity programs. Together, we can overcome these baseless attacks and build a more resilient and inclusive economy that ensures continued prosperity for all. And this is signed by Ron Busby Sr., President and CEO of U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., Alfonso David, President and CEO of Global Black Economic Forum, Angela Dingle, President and CEO of Women Impacting Public Policy, Ying McGuire, CEO and President, National Minority Supplier Development Council, Brigadier General, retired Richard Miller, President of the National Veteran Business Development Council, Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, Justin Nelson, co-founder and president, the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, Matthew Pavelek, President and CEO of the National Veteran-Owned Business Association. Pam Prince Eason, President and CEO, Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Chillin Tong,
Bing chillin'!
President and CEO of National Asian Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce and Entrepreneurship. Samantha Tweedy, CEO of the Black Economic Alliance. And Ebony Wimbush, President and CEO of the Airport Minority Advisory Council. These are not real jobs. Oh man, who was the general that signed on? Richard Miller. Brigadier General Richard Miller. That name sounds familiar for some reason. You can call them Bolsheviks too. Yeah, pretty much. The company you're about to leave claims to care about diversity. We're in a heavily African-American area and only about half the team is black, but you're the only African-American. That's interesting. If businesses should reflect the diversity of the country, then according to the census, it should be 18.7% Hispanic, 12.1% black, 57.8% white. Again, once you realize that all these people know how to do is lie, and that their end goal isn't diversity, their end goal is Marxism, a lot of what they're doing makes sense. It doesn't make sense if you try thinking about it logically, but you have to think about it in the realm of someone who wants to change the American government, change the political spectrum of the American people, and introduce Marxism to the country. That is the overarching goal of what's happening here, which is why subversive language is one of their biggest attack vectors. DRT is king, thank you for the $20 doodles. Be perfectly honest, Razorfist and Steven Crowder are more important to get on side as they have the ear of those whom actually may have power. They talk to those whom may actually are close to power. I don't think that there's any realm I could get Steven Crowder to respond to an email or a DM from me. Like, I couldn't even get Tim Pool to cover Bridge stuff, and I feel like Tim Pool is a little bit lower on the totem pole than Steven Crowder. I mean, I could be wrong, but, you know. I mean, I'm gonna be on Side Scrollers with Razorfist next Tuesday, I think it is? The 21st, right? That's a Tuesday? Yeah, 21st, next Tuesday. I don't know if we're gonna bring up Bridge, but like I can ask. I can make a request. Maybe bring up some of these news articles I've been reading to you today. Wait, isn't that the data from the company that Nerdrotic found out is the go-to firm for cooking your books? I don't know. I mean, maybe I could give him this and see if it connects to something that he found. Time to email Ben Shapiro. Nugget Keeper, thank you for the $2 or €2. Where can we find a copy of this letter to spread this? I'll post it in chat. I can't post in my own YouTube chat, so one of my mods will have to post it for you. But I posted it in Twitch chat, so if a moderator can repost my link into YouTube, I'd appreciate it. But there's the link to the letter. The link to the letter.